The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the convenience store parking lot as cars came and went in their usual rhythm. Emma Torres stood beside a worn SUV, her small frame held rigid by the woman gripping her wrist. Patricia Kane kept her voice cheerful, almost sing-song, but her fingers never loosened their hold. Emma stayed silent. She tugged at her earlobe again and again, a tiny motion, barely visible, but it carried terror inside it. Marcus Shaw noticed it before he noticed anything else. He sat on his motorcycle near the far edge of the lot, talking with two riders from his club. His eyes lifted when he saw the girl. Something in her stance looked wrong. Her back too straight, her chin tucked too low. Her gaze stayed fixed downward, like she was trying to disappear. Patricia leaned down to her, saying something soft. Emma didn't answer. She only pulled at her earlobe in that small, desperate gesture. Marcus watched it happen once, then twice, then a third time. A small signal, easily missed. A child asking for help without making a sound. Marcus straightened on the bike. He tried to catch the girl's eyes. She didn't look up. She kept her shoulders hunched inward. Patricia nudged her toward the open back door of the SUV. Her smile stayed bright, but her fingers dug deeper, pressing into Emma's thin jacket. A delivery truck rolled past and drowned out the noise around them. Emma lifted her face for a split second. Her eyes met Marcus's. They held nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just fear, steady and quiet, like she already knew she had only seconds to reach someone who might see her. Marcus felt a cold shift inside his chest. It wasn't the kind of fear that makes a man freeze. It was the kind that makes him replay a memory he wished he could erase. He had seen a child send that same signal once before. He had missed it that time. He wasn't going to miss it now. He rose from the bike, slow and steady. His brothers noticed a change in him and glanced toward the SUV. One of them frowned. The other shifted his weight, waiting for Marcus to speak first. Patricia opened the back door wider. "Come on," she said under her breath, still pretending everything was normal. Emma hesitated. Her hand hovered near the doorframe. Her fingers found her earlobe again. She didn't dare look at Marcus a second time. Patricia pushed her shoulder. She stumbled forward and caught herself with a quick breath. She climbed into the back seat, moving like she didn't want to make a single sound. Patricia kept one hand on her arm as she reached for the seat belt. Marcus took one step toward them, then another. His boots hit the pavement with a slow, deliberate rhythm. His face stayed calm, but his jaw set tight. Patricia glanced up. She saw the biker coming closer. Her smile flickered, then rebuilt itself too fast. "Afternoon," she said, trying to sound relaxed. Her tone held a thin edge, just a bit too tight. Marcus didn't answer. He stopped a few feet away and looked at Emma instead. Her breath shook. When she noticed him standing there, she didn't blink. Behind Marcus, a semi pulled in and blocked some of the noise from the road. The lot suddenly felt quieter. The air felt heavier. Patricia's hand landed on the door as if she planned to close it fast. Marcus shifted his stance just enough to show he wasn't backing away. He didn't want to scare Patricia. He didn't want to frighten the child. He just needed to understand what he was seeing, and why every small move from that girl looked like a silent shout. "Everything good here?" Marcus asked, keeping his voice even. Patricia's smile tightened again. "Just heading out," she said. "Long drive. She's tired." Emma kept her face forward. Her shoulders rose, then fell too quickly. A tiny tremor ran through her arms. She didn't turn her head, but her hand found her earlobe again, tugging harder this time, like she knew this was her last chance. Marcus felt the tension build inside the space between them. His brother stopped talking behind him. The whole lot seemed to slow down. Even the gas pump clicks sounded louder. He looked straight at Emma. She gave the smallest nod. It was barely a movement, not even a full nod, more like a drop of her chin that lasted less than a breath. Marcus took another step. Patricia's eyes narrowed. She grabbed the door with a fast jerk and swung it toward the frame. Marcus stopped moving. The door slammed shut with a sharp crack, vibrating through the air. Emma flinched. Marcus's hands curled slightly at his sides as he watched Patricia circle the SUV and reach for the driver's door. The biker image already put him under suspicion in most places. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. But one delay could cost a child everything. He stared at the locked door where Emma sat, her shadow small behind the window. Marcus made his choice. He stepped forward again, slower, steady, ready to act. Sarah moved quickly through the narrow kitchen, flipping pancakes while checking the time on her phone. Emma sat at the small table with her backpack already zipped, swinging her feet as she watched her mom with tired eyes. Sarah set the plate down in front of her and forced a small smile, even though her face showed how little she slept. Emma pushed the pancakes around, quiet, but she lifted her head when Sarah brushed her hair back and whispered that they would get through the day together. They walked out the door with Sarah still tying her work apron. Emma stayed close to her side. At the curb, Sarah knelt to fix the strap on her daughter's backpack. Emma gave a short nod, the kind she used when she wanted her mom to believe she was fine. Sarah hugged her a second longer than usual before sending her into the schoolyard. She waited until Emma turned back with a tiny wave. That wave always settled her heart for a moment. After school, Emma sat at the cafe counter while Sarah handled orders and customers. The girl drew small pictures on napkins, sometimes the two of them holding hands. Every time Sarah passed by, Emma lifted her drawing with a shy smile. It was their little routine, and it kept the long evenings from feeling too heavy. People in the cafe knew them. They often slipped them a cookie or asked about school. She felt safe there. Across the hall from their apartment lived Patricia Kane. For months, she played the friendly neighbor, the kind who always held the door open or brought in packages. Sarah appreciated the help. She had no family nearby and worked late nights. When she struggled with groceries, Patricia stepped in with a polite smile. When her shift went long, she once offered to check on Emma until she got home. Sarah kept her distance at first, but Patricia never raised her voice, never acted angry, never seemed dangerous. Emma stayed polite with her. She answered her questions with short words and gentle nods. She watched people closely and studied their moods the way quiet children often do. Sarah thought Emma was just shy, not sensing the careful way Emma measured every adult who stepped too close. Over time, Patricia's presence became normal. She helped carry furniture when Sarah changed jobs. She appeared at their door with small tools when something needed fixing. She stayed polite, always polite. Even when Sarah tried to refuse help, she took her behavior as good manners. She didn't see the way Patricia's eyes lingered on Emma when she talked to them. She didn't see the small shifts in her smile when Emma walked into the room. One afternoon, Sarah picked Emma up late from school because of a broken-down bus. Patricia happened to be there standing beside her SUV. She told her she had been running errands and saw Emma waiting alone. Sarah thanked her, thinking it was luck that she appeared at the right time. Emma stayed quiet that evening, drawing circles over and over on the same napkin, but Sarah was too tired to notice the pattern. Another time, Sarah opened the door and found Patricia standing there with a bag of groceries, saying she noticed she had forgotten her usual shopping day. She laughed it off and took the bag, grateful for anything that made life easier. Emma stood behind her mother, watching her with small, worried eyes. Patricia began showing up uninvited, always with a reason. A loose light bulb, a missing package, a sound she heard in the hallway. Sarah assumed she was just being kind. She believed she was looking out for them because she cared about the building. It felt harmless, even comforting to have someone offer help when she had so little support. She never imagined someone polite could be dangerous. Emma felt something different, though she didn't have the words for it. She stayed polite but stiff. Whenever Patricia spoke directly to her, she stepped closer to her mother. When she asked her questions, she answered softly and looked down. She once offered to give her a ride home from school. Sarah said yes that time because she was stuck on a long, late shift. Emma climbed into her SUV that day without a smile. Nothing happened that she could explain to her mother, but the quiet fear she carried after that ride stayed with her. The worst moment came on a day when Sarah was trapped in heavy traffic after a long shift at the laundry shop. Her sister lived 20 minutes away and offered to watch Emma for the night. Sarah called Patricia through the open car window, asking if she could drop Emma off at her sister's house, since she was already heading toward that side of town. Patricia said she didn't mind at all. Her voice sounded warm, almost proud that she asked. Sarah looked at Emma and asked if she was okay riding with her. Emma didn't want to upset her mother, so she nodded. Sarah exhaled with relief. She promised she would see Emma soon and thanked Patricia again for helping. It felt simple. It felt safe. It felt like the kind of small favor neighbors gave each other every day. Sarah made it through traffic faster than she expected. She parked at her sister's house and walked up the steps with a tired smile, ready to scoop Emma into her arms and end the long day. Her sister answered the door with confusion. She said Emma hadn't arrived. Sarah froze. Her stomach dropped so fast she had to step back to steady herself. She pulled her phone from her pocket with shaking hands and dialed Patricia's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. She didn't pick up. Patricia drove with one hand tight on the wheel and the other resting too close to Emma's knee. The SUV moved steady down the main road, but her eyes kept cutting toward her. She spoke in a soft voice, saying she didn't need to look so scared, that everything would make sense soon. Her smile looked gentle, but the corners of it never reached her eyes. Emma pressed her back against the seat and kept her mouth closed. Patricia told her she was helping. She said her mother was tired, stretched too thin, and someone needed to step in. She framed every sentence as if she was doing something good. Emma stayed silent. She watched the locked doors. She watched her hand near the child lock. Every detail made her smaller in her seat. When they passed her school road, she whispered that it wasn't the right way. Patricia chuckled and said she knew a better route. She kept her voice calm, but the grip on the wheel tightened. Emma looked out the window, trying to remember the safety lessons she learned. She tugged at her earlobe once. Then again. She didn't know if Patricia saw it, so she kept it small. Patricia checked the mirror. No cars followed them yet. She relaxed for a moment and talked about a place where she could start fresh. She said it like it was a gift she was giving her. Emma stared at her and felt the air in the SUV grow heavier. She asked about her mom, her voice faint. Patricia told her not to worry about that she would explain everything later. She turned onto a back road Emma had never seen. The houses thinned out. Fields stretched on both sides. When Emma asked where they were going, she smiled again and said she would be safe, safer than she had ever been. She folded her hands in her lap to keep them from shaking. As they reached a long curve, Patricia talked about the farmhouse. She described it like a quiet home, far from noise, far from people who didn't appreciate her. She said she would have more attention, more care. She spoke like someone convincing herself she was right. Emma stared down and didn't respond. Every word made her heart beat faster. Patricia watched her face, expecting a smile or a thank you. When she stayed silent, she told her she would understand soon. She said change was hard for kids, but she was patient. Her voice softened, but the calmness felt wrong, like she was rehearsing lines she planned weeks ago. The road opened into a small convenience store. She pulled in and said they needed snacks for the long drive. Emma didn't move. Patricia unclipped her seatbelt and told her again that she was safe with her. She slid out of the SUV slowly, her breath thin, her hands close to her chest. Patricia kept a hand on her shoulder as they crossed the lot. She didn't fight it. She didn't look at her. She only kept scanning the area, searching for someone who might notice her fear. Patricia leaned down and said she needed to stay close so nobody thought she was a bad person. Her tone sharpened for a moment, then smoothed again. Inside the store, she talked to the clerk like everything was normal. She bought water and a snack bar and told Emma to stand still. When she didn't answer, she whispered that she needed to listen, that people misunderstand things when kids act nervous. Emma nodded once. She stood near her, but kept her eyes on the door. Back in the parking lot, Patricia walked her toward the SUV. Her shoes scraped softly against the concrete. She tugged at her earlobe again, slower this time, almost like she was gathering courage. She knew she needed to send a clear signal, without drawing Patricia's attention. Patricia tightened her grip and told her to get in. She paused. She leaned closer, dropping her voice, saying she didn't want to make things harder. Emma swallowed and climbed into the back seat. Patricia smiled in relief like she believed she was finally calming down. As she opened the front door, she checked the mirrors again. The lot looked normal. A few cars, a couple people walking to their pumps. She didn't notice anything strange at first. She got in and shut the door. Her fingers tapped on the steering wheel while she talked about the long drive ahead. Emma didn't answer her. She stared at the window instead. Patricia adjusted the mirror again. That was when she saw it. A biker vest in the reflection, black leather patches, a broad figure standing near a motorcycle. The rider's eyes were locked straight on the SUV. The same SUV Patricia had rushed Emma into. Patricia's smile fell. Her shoulders stiffened. Her fingers froze on the wheel. Her eyes darted from the mirror to the lot, trying to see how long the biker had been watching. The engine rumbled to life, but Patricia didn't move yet. She stared at the biker's reflection again, and this time she saw the man take a slow, steady step toward the vehicle. Marcus watched the SUV pull out of the parking spot with a slow roll of the tires. Emma's small face sat behind the window, half hidden by the headrest. She didn't move. She didn't wave. She only stared forward with a kind of stillness that made Marcus's chest tighten. He recognized it. He had seen a child freeze like that once before, years back, when he reached too late. He stepped closer to the curb as Patricia's SUV eased toward the exit. One of his club brothers, Leo, called out and asked if everything was good. Marcus didn't answer at first. He just kept his eyes on the vehicle, his jaw locked, his hands hovering near his sides, just enough for Leo to notice his shift. Leo took a step toward him. "You see something?" he asked quietly. Marcus nodded once. "Yeah, something's off." His voice stayed calm, but the edge in it was unmistakable. The Iron Haven riders knew that tone. They heard it on rides when someone was about to fall. They heard it at events when a stranger tried something out of line. They never saw Marcus use it without reason. Leo looked at the SUV again, then back at him. "The kid?" Marcus didn't look away from the taillights. She signaled. Leo frowned. "You sure?" Marcus breathed out slowly. "I'm sure." He didn't say more. He didn't need to. The memory of the child he failed years ago pressed heavy behind his ribs. Back then, he moved too slow, trusting someone who looked harmless. By the time he acted, the chance was gone. He carried that moment every day. It changed the way he read fear. It changed the way he watched people. The SUV reached the road. Patricia checked the mirrors again, eyes shifting fast. Marcus saw that, too. The woman was watching for something, watching for him. Marcus walked to his bike. His steps were steady, not rushed. He didn't want to draw attention. He didn't want Patricia to panic. He climbed onto the motorcycle and started the engine, keeping it low and slow. The rumble drew a few looks from bystanders, but Patricia didn't linger. She turned onto the road and headed toward the highway. Leo watched him. "You going after them?" Marcus slid on his helmet, just making sure she's okay. Leo didn't question it. The club had their own code. They didn't chase drama. They didn't act loud. They watched their town and stepped in only when someone vulnerable needed help. They handled things with calm, controlled presence. It was something Marcus lived by. He pulled out of the lot with enough space to look casual. Patricia's SUV stayed ahead, moving at a steady pace. Emma's silhouette sat stiff in the back seat. She didn't turn around. She didn't shift. That alone told Marcus more than words could. The bike rolled forward, and Leo signaled to the third rider nearby, Carter, who swung his leg over his own bike. Carter asked what was going on, and Leo told him to hang back and follow Marcus's lead. Carter nodded, taking the lane behind them. Marcus kept a safe distance, studying Patricia's driving. Everything felt calculated. She didn't speed. She didn't drift. She drove like someone trying to blend in. Marcus watched a slight shake in her shoulders every time she checked the rear-view mirror. Leo caught up on the opposite lane, staying far enough to look unrelated, but close enough to react. The three riders formed a loose triangle around the SUV, without boxing it in. It looked natural to anyone passing by, but to them, it felt like an invisible shield. Marcus's thoughts stayed sharp, not messy. He knew the risk. If he acted too soon, Patricia could panic and hurt the girl. If he waited too long, the road could empty and leave Emma alone with the wrong person. The balance held tight in his mind. As they neared the highway ramp, Emma moved in the back seat. It was small, barely a shift, but Marcus saw her hand lift slightly, as if she were tugging at her earlobe again. His throat tightened. He leaned forward just enough to get a clearer view. Patricia glanced back again. Her eyes darted from the mirror to the road in short, jerky movements. She saw something, felt something, and her fingers tightened around the wheel. Marcus lowered his speed, letting the distance stretch so Patricia wouldn't spook. He didn't honk. He didn't flash his lights. He watched. He measured. He planned. The same quiet instincts that saved people in bar fights and road accidents now pointed him toward one truth. Emma was in danger. The SUV reached the base of the highway ramp. Carter shifted lanes. Leo slowed down behind Marcus. Sensing the next move, Marcus reached up and gave a short hand signal. 2 fingers angled back. Back up. Leo nodded once. Carter eased into position on the outer lane. And Emma, trapped in the back seat, lifted her hand once more, her fingers finding her earlobe in a trembling pull. Marcus's heart punched hard in his chest. This was it. The same signal he had missed years ago. The same fear, the same silent plea. He leaned forward and gave Leo a second signal. This one meant follow close. Patricia's SUV turned onto the highway. Marcus followed. Before you go, remember, there are Emmas in the world everywhere. Children whose safety depends on someone paying attention. If you believe in protecting the vulnerable, in kindness, in community, Backhand Index pointing right subscribe to the healing narrative so we can keep telling stories that matter.